Hi, I'm Zach,
And I'm Mike.
and this is the LoreBreakers podcast, and this is the second episode, Magical Explosions.
Magical explosions, magical systems. Generally, let's talk for a little bit on bringing, sorcery, magic, and all manners of crazy witchcraft into your worlds.
And whether or not magic is different from power systems, which it is, which we'll talk about, as well as the easy tropes of breaking your power system, or magic system in this case.
Yeah. Just and what are the things to avoid, I guess, on that one as well.
Yeah, we'll probably fall into it because near the end of this, we'll go into detail of trying on the fly create our own magic system, and you'll probably hear a few times where we break our own rules.
That will absolutely go amazingly because we've got no pre-thought into this, so we're just doing this one by the seat of our pants.
Shooting from the hip. Let's go. All right, so do you want to start with your favorite magic system or mine, or just one you like?
You just go first. That'll be interesting.
Okay, I really like the Rivers of London magic system.
I somehow had a feeling you go straight to Rivers of London, but go
Right,
on.
it's kind of like, it's the most unique one I think we're going to probably discuss. That is, magic works in that you draw from the ethereal sense of it, but it has physical damages on you. For instance, it can cause your brain to rot, like nuclear radiation. Like, internally, your brain could turn into it looks like a cabbage, the way it's been fucking rotted from the inside.
So the idea is just that sorcery, that effectively magic has a price that needs to be paid.
Yeah.
It takes a toll upon you.
If you try and go above your actual level, you can actually just theoretically rot your brain and fucking decay. Like, you do a spell and you're just brain dead.
Yeah.
As well as they emphasize that magic does not work with technology. For instance, Peter's constantly destroying his phone because he has it turned on, and when he does magic, it interacts with the computer chips, and it just fries them. So on all his phones, he's got a kill switch built on the outside.
Ah, right. So he just pushes it, and then he can start using it again.
Yeah.
Well, then he can start using magic, and then it doesn't fry his phone.
Yeah, and that sort of thing. And when they're driving cars, it's the ultimate, like, okay, will this fuck up or will this not?
Well, let's find out.
Yeah.
Well, mechanics break at the moment we cast a spell. Find out.
Yeah, but that's one of the magic systems I like. It puts power into perspective that you have to be around for years to use it, or the Fey people are part of the world, who are naturally born into it. You just see them, and like some of them are like literally with one part, he gets dragged to Furry World, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm getting dragged to Furry World," and he gets seen, and he's like, "Oh fuck, I've been dragged to Furry World." And he's still treating it like kind of like a joke, but he's just saying in like, wait, I've been dragged off to where the Fae live. Oh no.
This can't end well.
Yeah. That's my first one. What about you?
Damn it. See, the problem is I've been trying to think about what my favourite one is whilst you were talking. That was my secret tactic. It didn't work.
Just pick one you like then. Don't need to be your favourite. You can still think
Oh,
about
I
it.
know. You know what? Sorry, let's talk about one of the big ones then. In that case, let's jump straight onto the big one, D&D.
No, I was going to say Full Metal Alchemist.
We're gonna get onto Full Metal Alchemist because that's a really good example of
A non-magic system.
I mean, it is magic. They don't call it magic; they call it alchemy. But it is magic. It's a magic system. But it just has it's a really good example of a magic system that you can develop it really well with a single. You're trying to get me on to talking about Full Metal Alchemist now, aren't you? I can see that.
Got him. I know you're a fan.
Yeah, you know I'm a fan. We'll get fucked. But no, you know what? We're on to it now anyway. So yeah, no, Full Metal.
Nah. Come on, Roy.
Dick.
Come on, Roy.
But no, Full Metal Alchemist is a really interesting system. I would probably describe it as it is a magic system. But it does something which I like for a lot of magic systems. They try to base it within. They try and create pseudoscience to warp around. They try and make it sound reasonable or viable as an actual concept. So, the most important thing for a magic system, in my opinion, is that you have to establish a rule set, and you have to stick by that rule set. The idea being that, and since Full Metal Alchemist is based around one simple rule, equivalent exchange, as long as you know the formula, the components, as long as you have the knowledge to carry out what you are doing, and you have the knack for alchemy, as long as you have something you can offer in exchange to create that effect you're looking for, you can do it.
There are exceptions, most notably the entire setup and backstory of the Elric brothers. I said Eldritch brothers.
The Eldritch brothers. That's Dark Souls, man.
I almost said Eldritch is the Yu-Gi-Oh card.
Yeah. But I mean, any world sort of breaks. That's also sort of the issue of like you can't really break your own system. If you break your own system, you start creating a lot of awkward questions. I mean, the casual observer isn't going to mind if you start inventing, if you start placing 1,000 asterisks on the end of every single bit of your magic system.
Well, that's how Death Note works, but we'll get into that in a bit.
Yeah, but if you start severely breaking it, that's when you get a bit of a problem. Because the thing is, with Full Metal Alchemist, I mean, even like let's take the Philosopher's Stone as a good example.
Yeah.
Which is meant to be the big cheat button, like the magical thing.
The Konami code.
Yeah, it's meant to be the Konami code. The idea that it's this object that can actually create something out of nothing, but it turns out that's not the case. It's just a lot of cost compressed into a single.
It's a credit card.
Spoilers for a 20-year-old manga. Like, turns out the Philosopher's Stone is people. But no.
Who would have known?
Who knew?
It's just a credit card with blood.
It's literal blood money. But no, that's basically it. It's just a lot of like credit condensed into a small thing, which you can then consume on the fly. And so in that case, the rules are maintained, equivalent exchange. That's it. And you can get really creative, as we see in the show in the manga, how creative you can get with your applications. You can shoot fire out of your fingertips. You can literally disintegrate things at the atomic level. You can create complex mechanical objects. You can repair anything.
You make it look like lead is gold.
Basically, yeah. You can. The classic thing of turning. I mean, that's the source of the Philosopher's Stone thing. Something that can turn lead into gold. So, but no, that's. I would probably say that's sort of. Yeah, it is one of my favorite examples of a magic system, and yes, I'm a massive fan of Full Metal Alchemist, but for many reasons more than just the magic system. But it's a good example to sort of touch on to.
I mean, they address that there is rules that it doesn't make sense because it's so like an ethereal concept, like a soul.
Yeah, I mean,
what is life? It is one of the things that you can't really fuck with because how do you create? You can't say one soul's worth another.
Yeah, I mean, the whole point of alchemy is that it creates physical objects or physical effects.
Yeah.
The soul is defined as a ethereal concept within Full Metal Alchemist story. So the idea being that you cannot create a soul out using alchemy. You can create flesh, as we saw. You can create flesh. You can create quote unquote life.
You can transfer life about.
Yeah, but you can't actually
play God.
Yeah, but you can't. You can do things to the soul, such as Alphonse getting fused into a set of armor, but you can't actually create one. That's the issue.
Did he ever give a name for those people that were transferred into like armors or like soul suits and stuff?
Do you mean the two that were in the
prison scene? Yeah.
One was Barry, and I can't.
No, I meant as in like, was there a name for that sort of when you've been turned into a suit of armor? Like,
I think it's just soul transference alchemy or something like that.
No, you'd thought they'd give those people a name or something.
You'd think that they'd actually. I mean, to be fair, there's
been
not
Alphonsed.
Yeah, they've been Alphonsed. I mean, to be fair, you can probably imagine that they don't. I mean, they're not that big of a part of the story when you think about it, but.
It is a neat like think about it.
Yeah, you'd think they'd have put the extra thought in, but alas,
they put a lot of thought and stuff. But
they named it practically everything else. Even, well, I guess not. I mean, where's the justice for our tin men?
Shout out to the Lost Heart Club.
Lost Heart Club. Motherfucker's got Dorothy.
With the red shoes.
Ain't no red shoes fixing those.
So, speaking of shit magic systems, Ruby.
Listen, I'm gonna let you talk about Ruby because I've tried to understand Ruby's magic system with the dust and everything.
That's different from magic. They have their own magic in the universe.
Yeah, I've tried to understand it, but I just can't wrap my head around it. So I want to let you take over on this one.
Well, I mean, initially the idea was that everyone's got their own unique power, or as unique as you can
Your semblance.
be. Yeah. So like Ruby's got super speed. Nora can turn thunder into like her own power. Ren can calm emotions and hide from Grim because they seek emotions. John's got like Naruto because he's got loads of fucking aura or
Magical energy.
yeah. Pyrrha's got magnetism. She's Magneto, but like not all that baggage.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna touch that because that's an entire different thing. And then they're like, okay, cool. Semblances can evolve. Okay, that's a neat idea. My Hero did something similar with the idea of the quirk singularity, where eventually there's gonna be so many quirks fusing together that kids will have such powerful quirks that it is becoming an actual problem. Then Ruby was like, yeah, cool. Also, magic exists and we have two gods. Hold up. Okay, so magic exists. Okay, we thought the Spring Maidens were just like super powerful people that power could be transferred about. Just calling it straight up magic. Oh,
Yeah.
wait, they were given that from other people. Wait, I mean, Dust is technically all the dead people that had magic when the gods left the planet? What? So wait, whenever they use dust, they're using the
The secret to industry is people.
Yeah, basically, man, if Jock Snee couldn't be any more evil, he is literally using the remains of corpses of children.
He's literally blended people into fuel.
Yeah, like every time Weiss uses her fucking powers to use those glyphs, I'm gonna make a red glyph. Meanwhile, the people of the red states, no, comrade, we're being turned to a little white girl's dust.
Oil's not being produced fast enough, so I'm gonna make my own fuel.
Yeah, that sort of thing. It's that's a neat concept. We're never gonna acknowledge it because that makes our heroes look a bit evil, even though it's just part of the world. Okay.
Everyone's evil in Ruby. Don't you understand this?
What are you talking about? The main character's always good. Wink, wink, wink.
Apart from that one revolution they caused that one time.
Oh, the fact they murdered a child that was enslaved to an evil dust company, tortured, and not raped, but physically he might as well be, considering they branded him.
Let's not get too much into that. But I get what you mean.
Justice for Adam. Justice for Adam. J-O-A. J-O-A.
Oh, yeah.
All right, sidestepping that.
I forgot how hard you were on that one.
Sidestepping. But yes, I'd say the magic system's one that's constantly breaking the rules because it was okay setup. Everyone's kind of got a unique power, even if super speed is a thing that can go to two different people, but the way it's used is different. One person could be fast on the feet, the other one could turn into rose petals, so on and so forth.
Yeah, but just to add on to a point onto that, just because your system has has rules, doesn't mean that those rules have to stay the same throughout the entirety of of its existence.
Hi, Harry Potter.
Yeah, but if you establish that the rules are changing, there is a good reason for them changing, and as long as you are consistent to those new sets of rules and you don't keep accidentally trailing back to the old ones, then it generally works. I mean, good example, D&D, and I see your expression.
No, I've found one that's funny. One that constantly adds new rules all the time.
Go on.
Timmy Turner, da rules! Come on.
Are we talking about Fairly Odd Parents?
As a quick side note, I don't really want to go into that because I think that was the entire joke, is that there's just loads of rules that contradict each other.
Yeah, but it's practically a gimmick for the entire series at this point.
It's a D&D.
It's a D&D. So, just to go on to D&D as a good example. Obviously, it's not really going to affect anyone playing the tabletop game, but just regards to the background lore of the actual world of Faerun, and, well, I guess the universe in general for Dungeons & Dragons. So, just for an excellent example, so the current rules for D&D are as follows. Wizards, sorcerers, and the warlock patrons are able to draw power from something called the Weave, which is basically a massive aura of magic that suffuses the entire planet. The idea is that you are only able to draw up a certain amount of magic from it per day. And this is dependent upon things like, your innate ability, how much you've trained on your particular style of magic, and so on. Generally speaking, there's a hard cap on how much you're allowed to use.
Social points.
Yeah, these are your spell slots. But the most potent rule, and the one that is almost unbreakable, is that casting anything above a level 9 spell is expressly forbidden. You cannot do it. The spell will just fail. The elves have somehow found a way to get around this, but we don't talk about the elves. To be
Which
fair,
elves?
if they're willing to sacrifice their people en masse to cast high magic, let them at it. But
Wishbow.
yeah, but no. The gist of it is that you cannot cast anything higher than level 9 spell. This was not always the case. This rule was put in place by, is it Mistral, whatever the.
Pretty sure Mistral was a place in Ruby.
It's also a goddess of magic from D&D, but yeah, it's basically after a rather unfortunate event happened in the past where effectively something called the Netherese Empire, if I'm pronouncing that if I'm getting that correct, effectively they were able to cast spells of any size, 10th level, 11th level, 12th level spells. They could basically do whatever they wanted, and the goddess fixed the weave, not a problem. Until one of them got a bit too big for his boots.
Standard.
Yeah. Karsus, an archmage, decided to cast a 12th level spell, Karsus' avatar. He decided he would just one day wanted to become the god of magic. And
What is it with elves and Avatar?
oh no, this was a human.
Oh.
Yeah. So yeah, he killed the goddess of magic and then failed to become the god of magic himself. The joy. Obviously, this caused absolute chaos. So the gods afterwards decided, yeah, you're not gonna be able to do that anymore. So, and then we have the modern day rule set of D&D, which is you're only able to cast a certain number of spells per day with a certain strength, and nothing above level 9. Unless you're an elf with a particular brand of hatred for life. So, and it's a good example. It's a good example of how you can sort of you can shift the rule sets of your system if you're willing to justify it. The most easy way of doing it is the gods said so. And if you want to, let's be honest here, you're already suspending your disbelief with magic. So you might as well throw the gods in for an extra bonus point. Let's be honest here.
No, I'm not giving Ruby the fucking break on that one.
And you're welcome to hate Ruby all you want.
Oh no, I still like Ruby as a series. It's just, it is the most like, God, I've got to put so many fucking asterisks next to. I like it, and then throw 15 up to be like, okay, let me explain what I mean by that.
You're scrolling back to find the word magic. There are so many asterisks. You think they censored the word, but no. But no, it's a good system, all things considered. Yeah, it's going to be a bit clunky. There are things in it that don't make sense. The idea, why does the goddess care that I cast 17 level 1 spells, but she doesn't care that I cast, 1 level 8, but she doesn't like that I cast 1 level 8 spell.
How come sorcerers get sorcerer points and yet no one else does?
I mean, feats.
You mean by natural standards?
Natural progression.
Yeah. Like, why can't wizards get wizard points?
I don't think classes are an actual established thing within D&D lore.
I know, but some people just get sorcery points, and there's no way to kind of other people that ain't born into it to get it.
What can I say? Some people are just born into green. Some people are born with a magical silver spoon in their mouth. But no. In of itself though, it's a good system. It's a good example of like how you have to establish a very solid set of rules for your system to follow, and as long as you're able to stick to it, elves,
Bards.
we don't. Where do bards get their magic from, Zach?
Well, as we were discussing beforehand, the only thing we really were discussing was, well, if sorcerers are born with it, bards are born to bone it.
Bards of Maybelline. But no, yeah, that's basically it. Wizards can manipulate the weave using their intellect. Sorcerers can do it innately. Warlocks just ask their
patron.
Yeah, thank you. That's not what I was going to say. That's a lot cleaner than what I was going to say. Ask their patron to do it for them, and I guess bards just roll for a seduction check every time they want to draw on a spell.
Hey.
Hey, Weave, how you doing? Joey Tribbiani, the first bard.
Sup? I want to cast that spell, and you can touch my cock. Got him.
Oh, crying out loud. Well, the leader of what? You've had to come from somewhere.
Does it show I play bards?
Yeah, it shows you play bards. So, bloody hell. Well, yeah, I mean, to be fair, you mentioned it earlier. Do you want to talk a little bit about Harry Potter?
Yeah, it's basically magic exists. There's no real defined rule set. You do school, you get power. Some people do, some people don't. I think it's more magic exists to tell the story as opposed to be part of the story.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like I was saying, I've just said the word soured.
Yeah. To be fair, actually, I do want to expand a little bit on Harry Potter because just to get to a different topic rather than just what are the rules of a magic system, it's how you apply the magic into your world. Just because to get onto the topic of world building, the thing is about magic is you can generally operate your world on a set of rules, and that is the rules of reality. All that goes out the window the moment you mention the word magic, because when magic is implemented, you have to realize that it's going to change a lot of the way things have developed. You can choose to do the magic the Harry Potter way, which is just there is a solid line between the real world and the magical world, where one doesn't interact with the other apart from, usually, and so you don't have to worry about things like magic and technology overlapping. Or you can try and find a way to have the two of them interact and commingle, and you generally have to give a thought that will people be driving the same cars fueled by diesel and so on if they can just throw a fireball or cast levitation.
I think that's more magic weapon episode we'll be talking about, because that's for integrating magic and technology together, or magitech as they call it.
It's more just it's that, but it's also the fact that you have to give thought to how you're going to implement magic into your world.
Oh, I get that, but like I said, I think implementing the technologies and how that differ world to world is probably a magitech episode. So, onto the meat of it then. Let's make a power system. Well, a magic system.
All right, you want to make a magic system.
You want to do a round robin? I'll start us off, pass to you, and pass back till we get to a certain point.
Yeah, why not?
Okay, so I say the magic for this world is drawn from... let's go with... In this world, there is... Oh, that's not picked up on the thing in the sirens. Probably are, but hey, ignore that. We're not in trouble yet. This isn't the Warhammer episode.
It's fine. It's because we breeze over Harry Potter. They're coming for us.
J.K. Rowling police.
J.K. Rowling set the police on us. But go on.
But yeah, so I say about the 6 major mountains where...
They're getting closer.
Yeah.
You got to do this quickly.
Yeah, where you can draw power from, because they're the ley line points. And I'll pass to you for which 6 powers do you want? Do you want it to be specific powers? Do you want it to be themed? Do you want it to be elemental? Up to you.
I think it's a good idea that if you're actually specifically stating 6, that you're going to want to have them be unique in some way. You can have it see that each ley line, you can have them crisscross across the globe. You can have it so each one has a particular characteristic, and it's the combination of these characteristics which creates the world as we know it. Effectively, the elements. And you've got a few choices. You can sort of use the traditional, earth, fire, wind, water, or you can,
Metal.
Yeah, or you can look towards the more Asian style thing, which is, I believe it's like fire. It has those 4, but you've got like metal and I don't know. Does the spirit have its own one, or I don't know. I don't know my.
I don't think the spirit's an elemental, but I think it's just lumped in there as a power set.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. You got lightning. That was the other one, wasn't it? Yeah, lightning was the other one. Yeah, I mean, you could run it that way. I mean, a lot.
You could change it so it's more like, say, you got ley line of life, ley line of death. So, like, actually throw that life and death is a thing you can fuck with power-wise. So you've got a cleric and a necromancer figured into this world, and then 4 other things to be like, okay, these are the mage archetypes, and then what if you mingle with the powers?
Yeah. Okay, so we're running it based on... So we're using the 4 elements and then life and death along with it as well.
Up to you. I'm just throwing that ideas out for you because I've done my part, which is set up the 6 mountains. You're defining what the actual 6 mountains represent.
Dickhead. But no.
Hey, it's okay when you fucking throw this to me in like a few weeks' time, and I'll be like, oh wow, I'm on the fry. I've got to think of something like this. Fuck.
Fine, I'm gonna mess with you on the next one. But
Bring it.
Yeah, you know what? Let's do it that way. We're using the 4. We're gonna use the 4 primary elements: fire, earth, wind, and
water.
Thank you. And and we're gonna have the last 2 be life and death.
Okay.
We're going to have it so each of these mountains are actually linked intrinsically to their particular element. The water one is actually based off the coast, jutting out of the.
How about we have the water one be underwater?
We could have it be underwater. Well, no, because they have to be accessible, don't they?
I mean, if you're using water magic, the first test is can you reach it?
I think possibly, but question is do we have people have to commune with the mountaintops, or will there be a base level of magical ability that's usable before you commune with the mountaintops?
Why don't we say so everyone in this world has a baseline magic power, but they have a certain what's the word aspect they are drawn towards?
So we're taking the Naruto route.
Kind of. Yeah, actually, yeah.
Yeah, we are just taking the Naruto route. Okay, so we'll have it be this way. You got the 6 elements. You have the water one is under the ocean but relatively close to the surface. The earthen one is simply, we'll have it be be buried within the heart of a massive mountain range. In of itself is not too large, but it's more having to get through the mountain range to get to it.
For the water one, the top of the mountain's the easy part. Getting to the bottom's the hard part. That's how you determine how you're a stronger water mage.
You could sort of do it sort of like what Moana did with the crazy mountain, which is I'm
not seen that movie.
I'm getting somewhere. Don't worry.
Okay.
So the idea is the top of the mountain is actually the start of the journey rather than the end point. So at the top of it could be, I don't know, like a portal that opens up or something, and so you have to progress into the mountain, which is flooded basically. It could be hollow, could be an old dead volcano or something if we can justify it that way. And the idea being that the stronger your magic, the further you can progress as the pressure builds up, and you have to deal for longer without oxygen and so on and so forth. The fire one, let's be honest, it's gonna be a volcano. What else?
Easy money.
What else is it gonna be? And then the air one is just simply the tallest peak that scrapes beyond the sight of the clouds.
Yeah, that one. The more air magic you can use, you can transfer to breathe up there.
Yeah. For the life one, it could be an extinct shield volcano, which is currently just engulfed in a massive jungle at this point that is sprouted from all the fertile soil.
That's one way to do it. I think the sun. I say the sun one.
The sun is not a mountain, Zach.
No. All right. So I say life and death are accessible normally, but if you're an initiate, you can only access them via either dawn for the life one, because the sun is giving life, the peak of when the sun rises.
Okay, how about this? We have it so that the last 2 mountains are restricted. And they can only be accessed via certain conditions.
Yeah.
So the mountain itself isn't anything special for the life one. It's just you need to have an affinity for life magic to be able to even perceive that it exists and get to it. And the idea is that
no, I'm going to stop in that. By that I means that if you are drawn to say life, if you're not drawn to life magic, you can still enter the thing. It's just the word. You are locked out from getting to the higher levels of it just because you can't perceive what life is for the terms of the magic drawing. And same with the death. So say, that's why I said sunrise is when new initiates go, can I perceive this and can I access this now 24/7?
Are we sort of going down the route that we're doing with Dragon Prince, where you have to sort of understand the concept of the magical archetype in order to
for life and death, yes.
In order to be able to properly utilize it.
For life and death, I'd say it's more you got to wait for the certain time conditions to be able to fully comprehend it. While the other 4, because they're more, the life and death are harder magics to say draw upon because conceptually, like you said,
they're sort of like they're more like they're primal forces that exist rather than just elemental ones.
Yeah, so that's what I said about either sunset or the highest peak of the moon when it's not waxing. So even if it's like a crescent moon, you can still access it as long as it gets to the peakest.
You could also have it that people aren't born with life and death affinities naturally, and they have to perhaps achieve it through environmental conditions. For example, if I don't know if a person can develop an affinity with death if they go through certain traumas, their natural affinity evolves into that.
Oh no, I've got a better one. Life and death determine when you've mastered your element and whether or not you go through the right experiences to use it to heal people, or through a near-death experience to fully realize how it can be used to destroy people.
I like the idea of us having that you have to be an experienced magic user to begin with in order to access the last 2 elements. I don't like that it sort of evolves your own affinity into doing it. I think that just, I think have it that you're a competent magic user, and then having it go through certain experiences. It could be something it could be, for near death experience is probably a good example. Is a good way of doing it, or or something that brings you to that point where you believe you're at the point of death, and you're immersed in the concept.
Well, that's what I said. It's not evolve. It's more that your understanding of it has changed to allow you to enter that higher being.
Possibly, but let's leave that. Let's we've got our 6 mountains. So I want to shove this one back to you then. How do you draw upon that magic?
Easy money.
Go on.
Okay, so you have to first. God, this one's
easy money.
It's
you said it was easy money.
It's trying to word this. That's the hard part, because I could just go easy. Just set yourself on fire and just be calm in it. You know what I mean? Like, I just say that without being able to kind of just like, all right, hear me out. So you've got.
I want to cast a fireball spell. Here's some gasoline.
All right.
Soak me with it.
Here's an easier way to say it is, rather than just doing that, is you've got to be able to reach a meditative Zen-like state that your body naturally represents the element. So if you're a fire user, you start combusting. If you're a water user, say, I don't know, when you're in the water, on a thin plane of like a puddle, you start to sink into it, as in you've become one with the water. If you're in earth, you become enveloped with the ground itself. Or if you're in the sky, you start floating, as in you've reached the base understanding of what.
So
this
is this
element does.
just when you're casting the spell, or is it like a passive effect upon the person?
This is when people go from being able to passively say, I don't know, traditionally fire's represented by anger, and you get angry, you just throw a fireball. You go to the part where it's like, well, I use my emotions more often, not to get into this part yet, is whether or not emotions should be cast into someone. I'm just using as a base example, because I think that's an entire different thing we've got to throw psychology into. But, someone says drawn more towards what the Fire Clan does in this instance, of Mount Fire. They're more towards going to, okay, I think if I sit in front of a flame, can I become one with it? As opposed to, say, if I sit there with water, would I be able to fully grasp what it means to go with the flow, to be one with the motions? Or the earth one, what does it mean to be still and sturdy like a rock? Or what does it mean to be everywhere but nowhere at once? So like that thing, throw a way that people can at base level have access to all of say if I want to create just a quick cup of water, I can, even with a fire mage, I can just create a cup of water. But I can't say, I don't know, form a water ball in my hand or draw upon the strength of the ocean.
So everyone has everyone who is I don't know. Let's just use the term the magician. If it's a bit easy enough.
Yeah.
So every magician has a baseline ability for all of the elements. Well, at least the 4 initial elements.
Let's say the basic for D&D purposes, they're the cantrips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everyone has a few cantrips, which can be any spell from any of the 4 elements. It's just your affinity allows you to develop beyond that. So my question was you're mentioning things like being effectively, I don't know, like water users being drenched, fire users almost appearing to smolder like they're aflame, and so will this be a passive effect on the person, or will this be something that will only manifested when they're casting their spell? Like having for example, a fire user conjuring a fireball, and then it's almost like an ethereal fire starts gathering around his entire body.
This is more like a what's the term? Where mental perception becomes physical. So it's a way for, say, when we're writing it, or if we did use this magic system in a book or a series, it's the way to show the audience that they've understand what fire is on a conceptual level, so that they've unlocked the higher being to go to that next stage. As an actual thing, a fire user, I don't think they should be on fire 24/7. That makes no sense. We must say they're like a grand master of fire, which then, at least then, like Endeavor, he's got a fucking firebeard to show that he's mastered his flames.
It'd be a thing where when your emotions are running hot, then you could you start to almost subconsciously manifest a minor magical effect.
Yeah, but I think until you reach what your aspect is, we'll call it for this quick purposes, that we'll say like children and stuff, or even most teens or adults that don't want to go through, say, the Brotherhood, if we call it that, for the mountains.
See, this gets onto how you're going to be applying your magic system into a world. You need to
Yeah.
the existence of magic will actually shape the world itself around it.
Yeah.
But what I was trying to get to was the question sort of was, how are people drawing upon this? Like, what how does someone get magic and how is it used?
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that it's an innate ability people just have. That's just the base thing. Is like magic is just a part of this world. It's built into your like. You don't need to go the drawing from the weave, or it's just the ley lines exist. You can kind of see the physical representations, and it's just the buy-in is people naturally draw upon it because they were built. This world has a I don't know.
It's always been magical.
I was gonna say it's just symbiotic of the planet. Like they're just part of they draw upon the fire, they draw upon the life, they draw upon the death, the water, the wind, the air. It's just that's the buy-in, is that these people it's like superheroes. How do X-Men are mutated, okay, but why can one guy teleport and the other guy shoot lasers from his eyes?
It's just inherent.
Exactly. That's the buy-in for this. Is you're not trying to pseudoscience the belief that if you concentrate hard enough and understand, I don't know, using Fullmetal Alchemist, how the equations work, you can draw upon and boom, I create fire.
Yeah.
So
I get where you're coming from. Okay, so throw it back. What have we got?
Okay. What technology level is this world at? And another one, what's the faith?
Okay. Technology level. Let's go with baseline industrial. So we've got steam power. We have rail access.
Yeah.
Baseline rail access. But that's it. No, you might have some glider technology being used by the air users.
So steampunk.
Sort of, but not steampunk styled. It would it could have it's not devoted to that style, but it's that kind of technology. Obviously the fire and water users can activate hydro, and you can create base levels of power, and they have but you're not going to have full on electricity running around and stuff like that. So it's not modern by any means, but it's not like just it's not like pre-modern. So you're probably thinking like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, the energies of that ley line sort of accumulates onto a singular location. Do we have, and effectively, I would not be surprised if religions did exist around each of the elements. You're checking the time, aren't you? How long we're going on for this? It's
Yeah.
fine.
We'll end this with the last one.
Yeah, we'll finish up talking about this, our own custom magic system, and carry on going.
Well, I've passed this to you, so I'm letting you have final say, but I'm going to put a few ideas forward.
Sure. So religion is basically this. They do, whether or not they're real or not is up for debate, but the people genuinely believe that there is a deity that is linked to each of the ley lines. They believe that, when the world was created, each of these 6 deities laid their hand upon it and granted it a blessing that is in line with their affinity. A fire god wanting to infuse, emotion, inspiration, bravery, and courage. Water wanting to infuse compassion, purity, rejuvenation. Earth, fortitude and endurance, and earth, free spirit and innovation. It's like and then you have life, and then you have life. Who wanted to grant you to, infuse all things in this world with vibrance and
To heal.
yeah, with wanting to grant this place life. That you could even have this. So
Guidance.
you could even see that the last two gods, life and death, were actually the ones who did want to create life on this world initially. It's just the other 4 stepped in and pushed all of their own ideas onto that life, and that's why we have that sort of, I don't know. That's why sort of like their powers aren't as prevalent, because they're not able to influence it as directly as the other four. But like I said, whether or not those deities are real, up for debate. Entirely up for debate. The idea is that this belief in the six gods is actually what's the main religion of this world, because that's what would have shaped when everyone's realized that this is this key power. Where does it come from? The natural solution that any human mind comes to when the lack of actual evidence is there is the divine.
Okay, fair enough. I was going to make an argument of, why we just don't have gods? The ley lines are just them. They are just a force of nature. But the fact that it's up to debate whether or not it's there, that could be some more interesting topics you could raise in the story.
Yeah,
whether or not in the world a character believes that there is an actual god or not is another dividing factor.
Yeah, and you could actually play with politics quite well in the fact that there are effectively the scientific minds, the intellectuals, or the logisticians who believe that no, this is just a force of nature that naturally occurred, and we can this is just our benefit.
Or flip on its head, because there is an actual physical magic in the world, why wouldn't there be a god to attach with it? And the scientists believe that, and the non-believers, the faithful people, are the ones that go, well, that makes no sense. We can draw upon it to turn it on its head.
What, that the spirit of mankind is effectively what's divine here?
No, it's more just we were born here. There's no greater purpose, and
that humanity has the divine right to use this. Oh no, that's probably the wrong way of putting it. So that humanity, its birthright, is the magical power of this world.
No, I think you're going more grander than I'm trying to say here,
Maybe.
which is in this world, because they can draw like an actual essence from. I can create fire from my fingertips, or I can use air pressure from my heels and my feet to fly. Well, we've drawn a line that the supernatural exists, so therefore the science around it is based around the supernatural elements. So they could go, well, there's got to be a creator of this, an origin point, because if it's a natural forming thing, it makes no sense to people in that world. They've got to believe, so the people trying to prove it are the scientists, and then the faithful lot is just, well, we believe that nature itself did because it's just part of the world. So you can transfer into head that the ones trying to prove that there is gods are scientists, and the ones that ain't are the spiritual people. It's a twist, innit?
It will be a twist. You'd have to work quite hard to make it seem, to make it fit appropriately. But you could definitely do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, any last tidbits you want to add on to this? So we can have it so that as I do like the idea that this energy in of itself can be acquired and utilized and almost infused. So you can have it so that a powerful enough user can infuse this energy into items or items and so on and so forth.
Oh,
so
one thing, there is no avatar that can control all elements. I'm just saying that now.
No.
If you understand life, you are locked out from completely grasping death. I'm just going to throw that in there now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and also not everyone that acquires that level of power is able to grasp life or death. You have to. It's a very rare thing that someone can actually acquire that power. You have to go through very specific and very strong and potent experiences.
And you can't be a fire water user. We'll just lock that out right away. You're monocast. You can use base stuff, but no advanced.
No one is acquiring two of the four elements at the same time. Yeah. No one's doing that.
Right. I think that's good enough for at least this part.
Yeah, if we can come back to this at a future point and sort of delve into sort of subtopics of magic systems and how they can be implemented.
Hey, maybe pick up this lore of this world and continue onwards.
Could be interesting. I'll make a few notes.
Yeah. All right. I've been Zach.
I've been Mike.
And this has been LoreBreakers. Ciao.
See you later.